What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Wager Alarm live stream. Yeah, that's what it is. Saturday night special. Here we go. Howard Bender, Craig Mish. This is it. We've gone through the spreads throughout the week. We've checked all the NFL news and notes from around the league. Craig and I have made our selections for the Westgate Supercontest. Again, we picked 5 games against the spread according to the Westgate card, which actually comes out on Wednesdays. So sometimes there's a little bit of line movement from the time that this card comes out to the game actually gets played. But we luckily get to sit on Wednesday's lines and kind of work it from there. Craig, how you doing today? How you feeling about week 1 of the NFL season?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate through the last few years. We've done actually very well at the beginning and the end, and then the middle is sort of up and down. But look, I think that it's going to be a very unpredictable year, as we've seen in college football a little bit, and certainly I think that's going to happen a lot in the NFL as well. But Howard, for me, at the beginning of the season, it's kind of always the same. I'm really focused on underdogs in the first couple of weeks because it's very similar to all sports, really, but baseball in April, where it's the first game, Howard. Everyone thinks they have a chance, and there's that really good feeling out there, and nobody has a win, nobody has a loss, and then reality sets in. So, but then again, there are teams that start slow and finish fast. Miami's a good example of that last year. So, but again, I like to, when we're doing the Super Contest picks, I like to have at least 2 or 3 underdogs in there. Because for me, the way the NFL is set up now, Howard, is that if we're basically taking a good quarterback, that's fine. If you're going to fade a good quarterback, you better make sure that the rest of the players on the team that you're going against have a lot of talent, because it's a quarterback league. And honestly, there are 2 or 3 guys on every football team that are stars. And then beyond that, what would you say? Like 8 on offense, 8 on defense are kind of just like the guys on the other team. And so it's a bad bounce. It's something that happens at the end of the game. You want to be in it going into the fourth quarter in all of these games. And when you are, it's always better to have points. So it's the way I've always looked at it through the years. And I don't think that week 1 will prove us any differently here, so as we have 5 picks and 3 underdogs going into the first week.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we've tried it out. We've worked that system now for the last couple of seasons. We've come, real close to finishing in the money in the Super Contest. Just right outside the money line, actually. So we're hoping that we'll continue the trend here. Again, our winning percentage has been, between 58 and 59%, which has been really good. But you need, 60, 62% really to finish in that money. So we're up right there at the edge. I do like I like the idea of having the points at the end as long as your teams are in it. And also, again, we look at lines early on in the week. We look at the ones that are a little funky and track them the rest of the way through. I think case in point is one of our picks for tonight. And I think we can actually lead with that one there. And that is actually a Monday night game. I'll jump ahead of the other
Wow,
ones
okay,
here.
we're going ahead to Monday night.
I mean, because this is the one where, at the start of the week, Denver was actually a 2-point favorite in their game against Tennessee. Right. And then Von Miller got hurt and the line flipped. And all of a sudden, they're a 2.5-point underdog, which a pretty crazy swing, in my opinion, for a defensive player. And this was all even way before the Cortland Sutton shoulder sprain, AC joint sprain news came out. So, and then line didn't move at all when Cortland Sutton's news came out. It didn't even go up. It didn't go to a plus, a -3 or a +3, I mean. So, I mean, I want to lead with that one because I think that this is actually a great game for us to talk about. You hit me with a really interesting stat regarding Denver in the in home openers.
Yeah, and I'm going to compound that stat here. Since the NFL merger, the Denver Broncos, who, by the way, have had some Super Bowl teams and also have not been great at times. In the first 2 weeks of the season, when the Broncos are at home, this is not the against the spread record, this is just their overall record, it is 59-2. That is their home record in the last 50 years playing at home. And what is the reason for that? It's because teams cannot catch wind in the second half of those games against the Broncos. They are just simply more prepared than their opponents. in particular this year, with having no preseason and no action to go against anyone, I think Denver has a huge advantage here. Now, don't make any mistake about it. I don't think the Broncos are very good, but it is a huge mistake to go against them at altitude in the first week or the second week of the season. They get that game on Monday night. They're a home dog, Howard. They can lose by one. We still win. I do think it's going to be a grinded out kind of game. That's the way that Tennessee likes to play. But that's actually our last pick of the week, but we may as well work backwards. And
I had to do it. It's like, I mean, that line, come on. Like, we've talked about this. I mean, we saw the line there and it didn't look, it looked fine as a 2-point favorite at the start of the week, knowing what we know about Denver. The fact of the matter that it flipped as tremendous as it did, like, we've talked about this. A quarterback is out. That's a point, maybe a 2-point swing, but one defender out, one guy. I mean, come on. That to me seemed a little oddball, didn't it?
Yeah. It's gone back and forth. Honestly, the most I saw Denver favored by was 1.5. So I can't say that I saw it more than that. But you're right. Right now, the line is sitting at Tennessee -3. So we're actually not getting the very best line. If you were to bet it now, you're getting a better line than you would have gotten earlier in the week. But there are some times where you go with a trend, and 2020 is a pretty good year to go with a trend because you may think things are wacky, but what are we really counting on? What do we really know going into the first week of the season? Everyone thinks that, just because Kansas City more or less blew out Houston, that's the way that all the games are going to go. I have news for you. They're the best team in the NFL. So I thought Houston would keep it close, but it shouldn't be a surprise that team is going well. If you don't think that there's going to be massive upsets tomorrow, you're mistaken. But Monday we'll take Denver plus the points at home. There's 2 Monday night dogs, and so we felt obligated to pick one because it's always a great bet. In this case, we'll take Denver.
We will take Denver. All right, let's go back to the start of the slate, and we'll do that. I got excited. The fact that you compounded that number, by the way, at 59-2. I mean,
59-10. 59.
Oh, 59-10. Yeah, because it's 18-2 in their last 20.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The last 5 years, has Denver been good? No. What happened in September? They won all their games again. It happens every year.
There you go. All right. So the other game that we're looking at here, let's start off. It's our first favorite of the slate. We're taking the Patriots. We're laying 6.5 points here to Miami. Cam Newton making his debut. You got James White. You got Julian Edelman. I mean, this is still, I get that Miami made a couple of improvements on defense. They made a couple of improvements on offense. This is still Bill Belichick, and this game is in New England, and they still remember being embarrassed by the Dolphins from last year.
Yeah, and I think that Miami, as the season goes on, is probably going to show a lot of what they did last year, but I just think that too many people are disregarding how good Cam Newton was in the past, and the other part of this is that New England's defense is really good. I don't think Miami is going to have any success whatsoever there up in New England, and certainly Fitzpatrick has missed some camp this year. They've had some wide receivers opt out. Not really sure what their running game is going to look like, and the Dolphins cannot afford to go down in this game. I don't think the Patriots' offense is going to be as good with Newton as it was with Brady, but I think there's a lot to prove for the head coach. There's a lot to prove for the quarterback. And I think that you're right. Belichick usually fares very well in a rematch, and this is essentially a rematch from last year. So line is now 7, by the way, but we have 6.5. So that's we're taking the Patriots by 6.5.
All right, another line that had a little bit of movement, not for us though, but we're taking it. Brace yourselves, people. We're taking the Carolina Panthers and getting 3 points at that. Line is now at 2.5 right now. Listen, I feel this is one of those spreads, and you've trained me to think this way. If the Panthers are as bad as everybody's saying, why is the line only 3?
Yeah,
like, why is it 4.5 or 5? And that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and that's the same. And I feel the same way with Cincinnati too this week. I feel like one of those two teams is going to win, Cincinnati or Carolina. Jacksonville, I'm not sure, but that wouldn't shock me either. But that line is clearly, it's a little bit out of control. The fact that it tells you that Jacksonville is going to be really bad, and they're probably the worst team in the NFL. I think Carolina can hang with with the Raiders. I just don't see why not. And look, their defense is a problem. And if we were talking about them going up against Seattle or Atlanta or one of these teams with a high potent offense, I would be a little bit worried because I know Carolina's defense is not going to be great. They still have Christian McCaffrey. Bridgewater is acceptable as a quarterback, and their game is at home. And so, look, I don't think the Raiders are going to be great. I think they're going to be okay. But the line in this case is telling you the story. Why are the Raiders not opening up as 5 or 6 point favorites? At the end of the season, Carolina's win total is like 5, and the Raiders is like 7. That makes them 2. That 2 wins in the NFL is a lot. And Carolina's not even a favorite at home. Line's not even.
Right.
It's a little bizarre to me, this one. So it's a smelly line, it's a fishy line, and usually when it is, that's what you do. And it's a really good lesson, I think, for a lot of people who do wager out there. Novice bettors would just look at this immediately and go, oh my God, how could you take Carolina? They're so terrible. They may be so terrible at one point, but it's the spread that we're looking at here. And certainly I think Carolina has a chance to win the game outright. We haven't seen Joe Brady coach in the NFL yet. I have a feeling he's going to be really good as a coach. I think he's going to do good thing for the Carolina offense. Probably a high-scoring game in this one. I know the total is very low, but I think more points are going to be scored than is anticipated, and we're going to take Carolina at home plus the points.
There you go. Loving that. All right, next game we are taking, I think I'm looking a little further down. Green Bay Packers getting 2.5, traveling to Minnesota. Obviously I prefer a home dog to a road dog, but you look at what Minnesota's defense is all about right now. And I've really dived in real deep on this one, particularly because of, my other aspect in fantasy and DFS, and looking at guys like Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, and Devontae Adams. The thing about it is the secondary has been completely revamped, and not with really good guys. You still have Harrison Smith in there at safety. Mike Hughes is the one of the corners, and he's probably their most experienced guy. And a year ago he was their slot corner and being knocked around a little bit too much. So the secondary I don't like. Danielle Hunter on the defensive line, he got put onto IR. Linval Joseph, he's gone right now. So the middle of the defensive line is not good. And then on top of that, the linebackers who are supposed to come in and help pinch to stuff the run, I don't like that either. Yeah, they got Ngakoue from the Jaguars.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's a rusher. He's a pass rusher, and if they can kind of work it around him, if he overcommits, a dump off pass to Aaron Jones, it's no problem there. I think that the Packers go in there now. We've talked a lot about the Packers because we both see their win total obviously coming down from where it was last year. This is a tough game. It's a tight division game. I think it's going to be real close the entire way. I do think that the Packers can edge out on this one here. I think Rodgers can pick apart that secondary for a final drive down this game.
Yeah, and the Vikings opened up as 3.5-point favorites, and the line's gone back and forth a little from 2.5, 3, 2.5, and it looks like there's a chance that by the time they kick off on Sunday that this will be 3 again. And it's more of an indictment, I think, on what the Packers didn't do this offseason, which is upgrade the offense enough for Aaron Rodgers. I think some people feel that way. But look, just going quarterback to quarterback here, and you're picking one in the fourth quarter in a close game, who's the one you want? It's going to be Aaron Rodgers every time. And I think that in this particular case, again, we don't have to get a win out of this. All we have to do is have Green Bay lose by 1. Very well could happen. The total is 45, 28-27 game. We still win 2. So our second play will be Green Bay.
Love that. Love that. All right. Then we're going to the Sunday night game for our fifth choice. That's right. For our fifth choice, we're taking the Cowboys. We're taking them on the road. We're laying 3 points against the Rams. I think the Dallas defense has definitely improved. I think the Rams still looking for a little bit of an identity. The running game just isn't what it used to be. People can knock Todd Gurley and his arthritic knee all they want. But Darrell Henderson, he's been dealing with a hamstring issue. Malcolm Brown, I mean, the dude's a third stringer. And Cam Akers, who, listen, I like Cam Akers a lot long term. Not having a strong preseason, not having enough time really to work with the team. I think that's going to be an issue there. And I think that Dallas can fade back into coverage a little bit and not sweat the run as much as if you had somebody, even, like Gurley, coming out of that backfield. So I feel like this needs to be a big showing for Dallas. There's a lot of hype on them. There's a lot of pressure on Mike McCarthy. I think they get the win. I think they cover.
Yeah, and look, when you look at these games, the one part about this too is to kind of understand your past a little bit. And our past with Dallas has not been good. I honestly, I don't know that we've ever taken the Cowboys and they've won. Have we?
I feel like we have, but you know what? I mean,
I don't remember it.
I feel like we have, but it was like early in the season last year. When they early in the season last year, they had that cakewalk schedule and they like crushed in their first 3 or 4
That's true.
games.
We may have had them along those lines.
I feel like we took them in one of those early weeks, because then when they fell off the cliff in week 4, I think we totally stayed away from them completely. I think we took them once and then vowed never to do it again.
So we will here. Look, I'm not a huge Rams fan, and the money is coming in on the Rams. It's now down to 2.5, and so we're laying 3 on this one. I'm not a big fan of going against, again, to me, one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, in Prescott. And at least by all accounts, they're 100% healthy, and certainly the expectations are very high as well. And I just didn't like what I saw out of the Rams last year. I think the Rams will probably be a little bit better than people think, 8-8, 9-7, somewhere along those lines. But we're not having to pay a huge tax here with the Cowboys, although it is pretty staggering that they're favorites pretty much in every game that they play. So we will hope for the Cowboys to win by a touchdown or so, which I think is reasonable. And they're 3-point favorites going into Sunday night. So that's our 5th pick, Cowboys.
That's our 5th pick, right? Nervous? Yeah, maybe a little. But no, I like our picks. I really do.
I feel like they burn us. I feel
the like Cowboys, they could. They could, but I don't think it's here. I don't think it's here, and we can easily back
which
up.
Teams,
who burns us?
Are our friends? We know what teams are our friends and which teams are not our friends.
Steelers are usually our friends.
Steelers are our friends. The Colts are our friends.
The Colts are our friends.
The Colts.
Who's not our friend? Atlanta. Atlanta.
Wrong on Atlanta every time. You're right. We've been wrong on Atlanta every time. Indy we've been good with. Look, the Chargers we never take, and then when we do, we lose. So we just don't do that. Trying to think who else. We know who's good with us? Tampa Bay. I feel like we took Tampa Bay in a few spots in that game.
Tampa Bay's been pretty good to us. I don't want to. I mean, obviously that game with them and the Saints, I don't even want to touch it.
A lot of people think Tampa Bay is going to win this game.
Of course they do, because it's all the money's coming in from the New England area. It's all Boston cash coming in on these. It's Tom Brady. It's Rob Gronkowski. Like, this is, it's Notre Dame football in college. It's the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Well, guess what? Now it's also Tom Brady, wherever he ends up.
It's all. Look, I'm probably a prisoner of the moment here, but when was the last time the Saints were only like a field goal favorite at home over anyone in the NFL? And it's just crazy that that's what the line is, coming off the Buccaneers' last 3 seasons. That basically what they're telling you is the difference from Winston to Brady is 4 points. That's a lot. That is a lot in the end, because Winston was not a slouch. Winston could score, and by the way, Tampa Bay could beat New Orleans with Winston. So, I mean, I get all that, but and part of it, I'm guessing, Howard, is the Saints not having the home crowd. I think that's got to play a factor in that too.
Wasn't the Buccaneers? Wasn't their wins total? Was it 4 wins more than it was last year, too?
Yeah, it was 9.5, something like that. Crazy.
So, I don't know. What's that tell you? What's that tell you?
I think that they have to make the line this, because too much. If you made the line 5, Howard, everyone would take Tampa Bay. We would take Tampa Bay, right? We look, Tampa Bay, Brady, we got to take. But they make it this because you got to get the money on both sides, and that's why they make the odds and do such a good job of it. I'm looking forward to the game, but it feels like, since everyone's taking Tampa Bay, that I would take the Saints.
Now, one fair warning for everybody also, because we were actually looking at the Arizona-San Francisco game, and we were actually looking at it.
Like Arizona, if they play it.
If they play it. Like, that's the thing. I mean, the air quality charts have been, sent out. You can see them all online somewhere. There is still a chance that this game does get postponed. which is, reason to avoid that. I don't want to have to deal with that. Not in the Super Contest. I mean, if it's
Sure.
postponed, where does it go? I mean, one
Yeah.
team's got a bye week in week 8, the other one's got a bye week in week 10. I don't know how
Yeah.
they're going to end up
A
making it
couple of
happen.
other games that I do like that I would mention that didn't make our top five, but if we did a top eight or we were in the Golden Nugget, maybe we would consider. I do like Cincinnati on Sunday getting the points at home against the Chargers. I don't think the Chargers should be favored in any game right now until we see them. I mean, I look, Rivers to me is done, and I think he's going to struggle in Indianapolis. But Chargers, talent wise, are they that much better than the Bengals? Honestly, like what makes them so much better?
Well,
They're
their defense is fantastic. I mean, the
isn't their
secondary
best
is
defensive player
fantastic.
out?
What's that?
Isn't their best defensive player out?
No.
James?
I mean, one of their guys is out, but I mean, you're still talking about a team that still has Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa on the line.
All
You
right.
still have Casey Hayward out there in the secondary. They brought in Chris Harris from Denver, so he's on the other side there. It's a really strong secondary there, and I think they've got a fantastic pass rush, good solid defensive line right up the middle as well. So I mean, I kind of
How's the
worry
Bengals
about
offensive line? I have no idea.
what's that?
How's the Bengals in terms of offensive line going into the year?
It's good. It's better than it was. I mean, last year they dealt with a number of injuries early on in the season. You could see it gel towards the tail end of the year when Joe Mixon was, putting up 100-yard games. I
Right.
just think that this is one where it's the first game for Joe Burrow. It's the first game in 2 years for AJ Green. I think that this is an important year for Cincinnati because this is, they just gave all that money to Mixon. Um, they got burned. They lost Trey Waynes for a little while in the secondary there, and they got burned there. So I think there's a lot of there's just to me there are more question marks about Cincinnati and how they're going to develop this season to me than there is with a lot of the guys over on the Charger side of the field.
Sure. Well, listen, fair enough. I still like Cincinnati. I also like Detroit, although Galladay is a significant injury. I don't like the Bears at all, and I'm not confident that Trubisky's even going to finish this game. But I suppose that could work against us or me if they decide to go with Nick Foles in the second half. But I do like the line. I like the Lions overall this year, and I like over on their win total. And so if that's going to happen, this is one of those games they probably have to win. So that's sort of why I like them. As far as the other games on the board. Bills and Jets. Bills are -6.5. I think that's a good suicide pool pick, but I really don't have any interest in betting it. Look, the Browns went to Baltimore last year and beat them outright, and I'm sure that the Ravens are going to get revenge, but by 8, I don't know. So we'll pass on that one too. Seattle at Atlanta. That's a tough one to call because we saw Atlanta play so well at the end of last year, and there are some that think that Seattle may take a step back. Eagles and the Washington football team. Philadelphia is the second biggest road favorite, Howard, of any of the teams going into the weekend here at -5.5 over Washington.
I'm curious to see what the line happens now that Miles Sanders is actually out, didn't make the flight. I know usually it doesn't move very much.
Like a half, yeah, like a half.
So 5, yeah. That's the thing. I wasn't overrating Miles Sanders. I was just curious as to where it would end up and if people would start putting money onto the Redskins there. I mean, the football team. Sorry.
Yeah. I try to get out of those two. I am a little tempted to take the Colts just because the line is screaming to take the Jaguars. Like my gosh, first week Jaguars +8 at home against Indy. Like what is who does Indy deserve to be 8-point favorites over anybody in the NFL?
I was worried about the backdoor cover in this one.
Yeah, I mean I wouldn't use it, but it would be in my top 10, I guess, of in the conversation. Let's see what else here we got.
Giants Pittsburgh, last game that we haven't talked about.
I just automatically would take the underdog in this spot, but I don't know that I trust the Giants all that much. But if I had to take a spot, it would be underdog on Monday night. It's just it comes in more than it doesn't.
All right, well, there you go. That's why we like our Broncos. So summing it up for everybody, Patriots -6.5, Panthers +3, Packers +2.5, Cowboys -3, Broncos +2.5, 3 dogs, 2 favorites. Feeling really good. Let's get that money, yo. Come on. Appreciate everything that you're bringing to the table here, Craig. Big
Thank
thanks
you,
to
Howard.
big thanks to our producer Matt Sells for always doing an amazing job. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. Thanks for tuning into the Wager Alarm live stream. These picks, by the way, the ticket will be posted at wageralarm.com tonight, so you will be able to go in and check it out. We put our money where our mouths are, and that's all you got to say. Catch you next time.